I didn't really have a belief in God. I've been raised in the Catholic Church, but never was given any idea of a relationship with God or what that meant. I pretty much stopped going to church when I was in college and just continued to digress further and further from God. And this went on for probably about 8 or 10 years. So I kind of tried really hard to not believe in God, even though some part of me was secretly hoping there was something out there. And I pretty much bought into everything that my generation was doing at the time. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Very much involved with my redheaded temper, very impatient and very angry. It's clear to see how God was really calling me back home, and He put obviously a desire for peace in my life that I knew I didn't have, but I saw other people had. I was at work with some people who were Christian, and I'd never been around people who were openly Christian and willing to talk about their faith and their beliefs, and who just had a real relationship with God. They could really have conversations about it, and they really prompted me to start thinking about my faith more. And they were very encouraging of this and suggested books for me to read, different books on spirituality and finding peace in daily life. And that kind of started me going, and I started going to daily Mass, and I discovered that when I went to daily Mass, I had a better day. And eventually I started going to Sunday Mass, which to me was kind of big and scary, but I started doing it, and just slowly God really used those times to keep me going and pulling me back. So there wasn't any one big turning point. It was actually a really gradual process that happened over probably about 3 or 4 years. When I was first returning to church, there was a priest there who understood a lot of my questions, a lot of the big things that still exist as sort of hot button issues in the church. And so those were really challenging for me and really hard, because I had never really learned what the church teaching really is. And so I was making assumptions based a lot on what other people told me and what the media told me, which was certainly not correct. So I would try to get to church about an hour before Mass, and I would usually read for about half an hour and then just sit. And God really did a lot of work during those times to kind of talk to me and show me things, and those gave me something to hold on to. He really gave me the courage to ask for help, and sometimes that help came through therapy, and sometimes that help came through confession, and sometimes just through prayer. Some things that He helped me with were really clear, where I got lessons, and other things just seemed to change over time, like my redheaded temper just slowly kind of got worn down. I think one of my big struggles when I returned to the church was that I knew that I hadn't been living the life I was brought up to live, and I'd experienced a lot of hurt through that, a lot of shame, a lot of pain, both things that I had done and things that other people had done to me, and things that I had allowed to have happen in my life. And again, God works in a very gradual process in my life, but He's really helped me to bring those things to Him, no matter how embarrassing they were, or how hard they were, or how just painful they were, and really talk to Him about it and give them to Him. And He has responded by bringing people into my life who could talk to me about them, and who sometimes through their own witnesses of their own faith, I realized, hey, there's someone else who's been through what I've been through, and I thought I was the only one. And then I find out that other people have been abused, and other people have done things in their lives that they are ashamed of, and yet God has helped them, and knowing that has helped me. Some of my biggest challenges were really believing that God cared about me as an individual. And I remember one time I really felt abandoned by God, and I asked Him why He had abandoned me after bringing me home, and didn't He understand how much it was hurting me? And He said, of course I do, because I've been hurt too. And it really helped me to realize that He understood, because He had felt abandoned at times, and He had felt alone at times. When I hear the story of the prodigal son, it seems every time I hear it, I feel like I'm in a different role. Initially, certainly, I was the prodigal son. I was out in the world trying to find something that just didn't exist in the world, and through material things and through sensory pleasures. For a while, I was certainly the older son. I was very judgmental of other people who were still living that way, and I didn't have much patience for them. And sometimes I see myself more as the father, reminding me to be generous to those who are trying to come back home and who are struggling, because I've been there and I know what that's like. It can be really scary to come back to the church. It can be really scary to go into Mass for the first time and maybe not know any of the songs and not know any of the people and wonder if you even belong there. But God works with us best when we're a little uncomfortable, because it gives Him room to work in our lives. And for me, just making that effort of will, God always rewarded richly, and He always responded. And sometimes I didn't see it at the moment, but over time, I can see how He was working. And so that's when I talk to people who've been away from the church or really have questions, I try to encourage them to just try, because God will respond, whether it's to pick up a book to try to learn what the church teaches, or to make an appointment to talk to someone, or just to go to Mass, whether it be a Mass at 7 o'clock in the morning or a big Sunday Mass at noon with a packed church. Just make an effort to go and know that God is very patient and is always there waiting for us.